Welcome to Exposing the Hidden Reality. I'm Annette, career reinvention coach and caffeine-powered human.
And I'm Sandra, women's life and leadership coach. I bring the woo to our conversations.
And this is the podcast where we call out all the unspoken stuff, biases, outdated expectations, and all the things women navigate in work and in life.
Yes. We bring to light what we see happening. Smart, capable women stuck in the same patterns because no one really talks about what's going on.
We'll bring some difficult truths.
Welcome, insightful experts.
And sprinkle in a little chaos and fun.
It wouldn't be us if we didn't, right?
True.
So whether you're walking the dog or tuning in during your commute, we're glad you're here. Let's do this.
Let's do this. You want to do the let's do this together? Like 3, 2, 1, let's do this. All right, 3, 2, 1. Let's do this. We tried so hard on when we were recording that, Missy. Really, we did.
That was great. I loved it.
Perfect. Well, welcome. Sandra and I are so excited to have you here on Exploring the Hidden Reality with us. Why don't you take a couple seconds and tell us about yourself and what kind of work you do in the world?
Thank you guys for having me. That was a great intro. So I'm Missy, and I am an energy healer and an intuitive channel. So that sounds kind of maybe crazy. It wasn't the profession that I thought I would ever end up in, but here I am and I love it. But I started out in the TV and film world. So I did that for decades. It really wasn't until I was 51 that I completely switched careers. So it's possible for anybody.
Wonderful. What happened that made you make that change from what you did? I don't know if I would call you corporate America, but from your primary career into something so new and different from what you did before.
Yeah, so I went to film school and I loved film. That was the thing that I always wanted to do, tell stories. And so I had a really beautiful career. I really loved what I did. There was a lot of community. And basically, though, over time, I became sort of bored. So I hit sort of a certain level and I didn't realize it was boredom. At first, it just sort of felt like, I just felt like kind of not that happy. It was like, okay, I loved all the people, but I feel like I wasn't learning something new. And I realized that I love learning. So that was like one first thing. I was like, okay, I'm kind of bored. And then one day at work, a director came up to me and he said, Missy, and this was very nice of him, he took me aside. He said, Missy, it's time for you to move up, right? It's time, because there's different tiers in the camera department. And I looked at him and just like out of my mouth was like, no. And I was like, oh, that was very rude because that's not my normal style. But that was obviously what I really felt. I didn't want to do it. So, I really took that to heart and I thought, okay, wait, if that's no, then what's yes? And I think we don't often ask ourselves, what's my yes or what's my no even, right? I hadn't really considered that I could choose differently at that time in my life. I had invested, in my career. I had made it to a good level. I had an income. I have health insurance and I have 2 kids. So it's like really practical of me. Like I'm the one who gets the health insurance. How's that going to work? And also, I'd gone to school for it. So everything, I felt like there was this huge investment and it was also my identity. And it was my family because I'd been with these people for decades, the same crew. We kept working on the same things together. So I didn't ever think that I had a choice. But at that moment, I realized it was a no for me. That was a no. So I needed to find out what actually was a yes. So I had meditated early in my life, like in my 20s. And I had really profound experiences, but then I got married, became a mom. Life was crazy. I had a job. Forget it. Meditation out the window. So in that moment, I was like, wait, I remember I can really tune into myself when I meditate. I'm going to make the commitment. So I think the first commitment is a commitment to ourselves to say, okay, I want to make a change. I want more information. I'm going to make a commitment, which is like a new habit to create something different. So my first commitment to myself was I'm going to sit down and actually meditate. I'm going to actually try to do this, right? And so I made that commitment every morning and every night. And somehow I had heard someone say, if you ask the universe a question, it answers you, right? We can have a communication. I was like, okay, I'm gonna try that out. I don't know what do I have to lose, right? I think a lot of life is experimentation. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna try that. So I did, but it took 4 months. But I was very persistent, and I would ask, and then literally, okay, this is where it gets a little bit in the woo. 4 months in, it was in October. In my ear, I asked, "Show me who I am." And I heard a voice, and it was in this ear. It said, "You are a healer." And I was like, oh God, okay, really? No, that's not what I thought I want to hear. I didn't grow up with what is a heal? I don't even know what that means. Like I didn't even know what that could be. And but the thing is, so my mind was not on board, but in my body, I could feel, okay, wait, there's something about this that's true. So I encourage you, like if you're looking for answers for yourselves, to actually get out of your thinking mind and kind of tune into your body, like, wait, because my body did know. It was like, yeah, that's true. But my mind was like, no way, that's crazy. Well, all that people will think you've gone off your rocker. So yeah, well, basically that was the moment. And from then on, it was one synchronicity after another. I just kept following the next step. The next step, I had no idea where it was going to end, but here I am now, and I have a thriving business on my own. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a energy practitioner. I mean, I travel the world. I have clients all over the world. I love my job, and there's so much freedom, and I get to help people every day. But I didn't get there knowing I was going to get there. I just kept following the next step.
There is so much good, juicy stuff in what you just shared.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to choose, where do I want to start? Because there's so much good meat there. I think where I would like to start is to take you back to what you said to us about the no just kind of popped out. And I didn't even know that that was there. And I think that's so powerful because we grow up, right, being asked, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? What do you want to do? What are you going to go to school for? What do you want to study? And we make those decisions at a time when we really have no sense of self and no sense of the world. And then we're sort of locked in to this path. And, I like to say that a lot of the women that I work with followed a path they thought was going to make them happy, only to one day wake up and realize, I am desperately unhappy.
Yes. Another thing I notice is that a lot of us actually weren't asked what we wanted. And so I grew up Asian American, so the classic Asian upbringing, education is the most important. And by the way, I'm going to say kudos to my parents. They were like, yeah, go to film school. I mean, that's kind of that's pretty great for my parents. They were super supportive about that. But growing up, I feel like we weren't, we did have choice in some things, but a lot of it was like, do this, do that. There was a lot of responsibility. I grew up as the oldest child of 5. So there was a lot of expectations about how to behave. And we didn't really get a say. Like, you have to go watch your brother and sister. You have to change their diapers. You have to wash them in the bathtub, whatever the thing was. And there wasn't a lot of choice in some ways about where to maneuver. There was a narrow pathway. And so I actually ended up growing up, actually not even knowing what I wanted a lot. Like, even in friendship, like somebody would say, hey, Missy, let's go out to lunch. Where do you want to go? I couldn't even tell you. Because I was so focused on reading everybody else's expectations or what they wanted me to say, the classic people pleaser. So I didn't even know what I wanted. And I feel like a lot of women that I work with also are like that. We don't even know what we want. So that is the first step. What do we actually want? Is it okay to ask for what we want or know what we want?
Yes. Yes. So is it okay to know what we want? I find that we don't always get there right away. So, for example, like what made you decide film school over, say, being an accountant or being, a lawyer or a doctor, right? What made you choose that path? And then it wasn't till later, like much later, that you question, like, what the heck am I even doing here? I thought this was what I wanted. So, what do you think changed in you that said, I did want that, and maybe that was great, but now I'm ready for something different, something more?
Yeah, well, I grew up as one of those little kids who loved stories like fairy tales and like Disney everything. Like I just loved sort of that make-believe magical world. And so I think that's where the storytelling and the filmmaking came because I wanted to sort of live in that world or create stories. However, at the same time, I also saw a lot of things when I was little. So I saw my grandma after she passed away. So I was 3 and I saw her and I told my aunties and my mom and I saw the look on their face and I was like, oh, that's weird and bad. Don't do it again. Like, don't talk about that. So even though they didn't say that, you could read, like you're a little kid, you can see or feel that that's not acceptable. And as a kid, I saw ghosts, I saw spirits, and I didn't really have a language for it, and people didn't understand it. And I shut it down. So the thing is, it would pop out though at random times. Like I'd stay with my family in a hotel or a bed and breakfast, and I'd be like, "Oh my God, right? There's ghosts everywhere. Does anyone see that?" Like, right? So it would, even though I try to tamp it down, it would pop back up. So I think that the more we can really accept who we actually are born as. So I was born with gifts of being able to see energy and see spirits, not for a reason, actually, not because I'm better or worse, only because God, the universe, wants me to use that in service to others or as part of my purpose. So I always thought it was like some weird thing I have to like hide. I can't show people that. But the more I could just accept, oh, you know what? These are my gifts. I'm meant to use them. It's time to use them and kind of get out of my own way about it. Like, be like, oh, this is actually going to help people. Okay, I can be the weird one.
That's so important what you just said there, in that we learn early in life what's safe to express
Yes.
and what is going to get us feeling like we're outsiders. And we never really challenge that as we're growing up. We just internalize that and know that I just can't talk about that, right? And the reality is this world is so big, we can't possibly know everything. And we need to be open to the possibilities.
I also think you bring up a good point in our childhood. So, right now, I work with people's belief systems. So, all of my work is about helping people find the very specific beliefs and emotions that are trapped in their energy field, so in their body. So, I can see what the exact belief is, the age you were when you trapped it, or if it was inherited from a very particular ancestor, and then we can move it out. But the thing I've realized is these beliefs we pick up before the age of 8, say. So
Yes.
we're like a sponge. So we're just taking in all these beliefs from society, from TV, from our parents, our teachers, and we don't question it. But I think it's when we start to question, well, why do I think I can't leave my job? Like that was actually really important. I had to do the work to find out what are the beliefs? What beliefs do I hold in my body that don't allow me to think I could change careers, for example?
Right.
Yes.
These are big questions, and we don't often know until that time comes or that decision
Mhm.
gets to be made. Like you were saying, I hold the health insurance. Oh my gosh, it's such a relevant conversation for what's happening right now in the US and the world. So what do you do? And then the scariness is like, oh gosh, now I have to figure that out. Or do I just get a new job and hope that it's better and move on with my life?
Yes, and a lot of that is belief work. So this
Yes.
gets where I'm very much okay, there's an intuitive side, and then there's reality, like of not reality, that's the wrong way to say it, but there's like actions that we have to take.
Right.
So it's not all, oh, we're just going to wish this thing. We don't, it requires us to take action. But
Yes.
before we take action, it's important to look at what's holding us back. So what's creating fear, what's creating doubt, because often it's not actually real. It's like something that our 7-year-old self, when we were like bullied as a kid, we started to believe, oh, there's something wrong with me, or people don't like me, or I don't know, whatever the thing is. We hold that in our system. So, say we did have a belief, people don't like me, then you're going in for a job interview, you're actually leading with that energy. So,
Mhm.
so I'm going in a job interview with Annette. She actually, because we're always reading each other's energy, she actually reads that.
Yes.
She's not consciously thinking it. She's like, oh, okay, maybe this person, something not likable or something. And me as a person, I'm feeding that energy out. Like, yeah, I'm walking like this. You know, like people don't really like me, and then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So what we believe really actually matters. And I'm sorry, I don't know how I got to that. And that you were asking something, and I went.
No, that's I think completely where I was going with this. So yeah, how do we as adults with all these things that we don't even know we believe about ourselves or that we believe so deeply because it's from our childhood? How do we bring those beliefs out? And then how do we bust through those barriers to say, I am well liked and I'm going to perform well in this interview and I'm going to share my expertise and value and they're going to hire me?
Yeah. Okay. So there's a whole think positive thing. So that, but I think that doesn't work because we could go in, right? And we could say, okay, I'm going to this interview. Everybody likes me. Okay. Well, that doesn't work if there's all these limiting beliefs deeper inside that are like, no, remember that time, remember that time, remember that time. And that's just like most likely an ancestral belief or an inner child belief. They just want you today to stay safe. Like they don't want you to be rejected. So it's almost like, okay, we got to put this big wall up because remember that time that person didn't like you, right? So now you better hide. So we put up all these defenses to never feel like that again. So your question was, how do we work through it? So it's not just positive thinking, or in my mind, that doesn't work
Yeah.
because you got to go deeper. So that's the work I do with people. But another thing you could do is you could start asking yourself a series of why questions. So I'm going to work it. Do you want me to give you an example of
That'd be great.
so when I worked through leaving my career, right, I had to look at that fear. Like, why am I so scared to actually leave this job? And I kept asking. So I would ask, why am I scared to leave this job? And you could do this journaling. Well, because people, I won't have health insurance, right? Okay,
Right.
that was one of them. But then as I kept going, okay, so then what? And then what? And then what? When I came all the way down to it, I was like, after the series of questions, then what would happen? Then what would happen? At the bottom, it was like, well, I have health insurance banks. I was in a union for a year. So that will buy me a year and then I can worry about it. And maybe my husband will start getting health insurance from his job. So it's not like I have to know every single thing, but it did give me a level of safety to know I had a padding of a year. In this particular case for me, I
Right.
had to look at it actually for real, not just, oh my God, I don't have health insurance. I actually was okay for a year. What ended up happening is exactly what happened. My husband got his health insurance. Now we're on his health insurance, right? So I had to like move through it. But when I really looked at it, when I really dove through, okay, people are gonna think I'm weird. That was one of them, right? Like people are gonna think I'm weird. And then what? And I mean, it went down to like, then I'm not gonna have any friends. Like seriously, that's what it came down to, right? I won't belong. I'll be abandoned. That was at the core. That was when I really got down to it. When I kept asking, and then what? And then what? it was abandonment. I won't belong. People won't like me. I won't belong. I'll be abandoned. And like, I can feel the truth of that, like
Yes.
in my body.
Yes.
And that was actually the core reason I couldn't leave my job. It's not always what you think. It's a
Yes.
it's a much deeper thing. And so my work then has been, how can I belong? How can I belong to myself? How can I belong? Because then no one can take anything away, right? Because when we belong to ourselves, we belong everywhere.
Oh, I can't remember his name right now. The gentleman who owns Mind Valley.
Oh, Vishen.
Vishen, yeah. He has a term for that. It's not a polite term. It's uneffable.
Oh, yeah.
Or uneffwithable.
Yes.
Yes. And it's true because, when you train yourself, I mean, I think there's a Buddhist saying that, to be fearless means to train yourself to let go of everything you're afraid to lose. Right. And if you're going to be uneffwithable, right, you really have to recognize that, you have to be true to who you are and be okay with who you are and train yourself to lose everything else that you're afraid, your prestige, your career, your reputation, your esteem, like all of those things, then they can't take anything from you.
And also, I think it's really examining so like your reputation, all those things, money, success, are they actually things that like, what of all of that do I actually want? Like, how do I define success?
Yes.
Or is that my family or,
Yes.
So really coming into what is authentic to me, what do I truly want? And then also this idea, sometimes I feel like, especially women, we feel it's selfish to choose a new career or choose for ourselves. But really, when we actually have desires, so the same way we're born with gifts, I also believe we have desires. When we're grounded and neutral, right? We have desires when we really tune in that are really the universe's way of kind of saying, go that way, right? So there's a reason, your listeners listen to this podcast because they're drawn a certain way. So when we Google certain things or whatever, what books we want to read, it's because our soul is leading us a certain way. So a reframe of selfish is when I follow, right, my desires, I'm actually following my path. And when I follow my path, that's a benefit, not just to myself, but that serves everyone, my family.
Missy, are you familiar with human design?
Yes.
Okay, because this is all human design speak. and I love this, right? Like we are absolutely brought into this life with gifts and expectations of how to use those gifts. And the more we align with those gifts, the more we actually do what we are needed to do for the benefit of everyone.
Yes. I mean, I really believe that.
Oh, it's so true. So powerful. And when you were talking about people read the energy, right? To me, that's not woo at all, because even Albert Einstein said, the way you look at the problem is the problem, right? And you can't solve a problem with the same mind that created it, right? So how we perceive a situation causes us to see certain data.
That's
And when we see certain data, we react in support of that data, but we can't see all the other data because we're so busy responding to the data that we can see, which is based on our thoughts and belief system, which to a lot of what you talked about could be based on generational trauma that has nothing to do with us.
Mhm.
It could be epigenetically encoded in our genes because our ancestors experienced it, and now those genetic encodings have been passed on to us. And right, it could also be trauma. Trauma that we experienced early in our life that we don't even consciously remember, but we feel to ignore our bodies, especially as women.
Mhm.
Yes, and we carry all of those pieces. So energy to me is all of our thoughts, our beliefs, our emotions, our traumas, our ancestors. All of that information is in our bodies, and we carry it, just like you said, whether we're conscious of it or not. So really our work is to get curious, like, why do I think that? I mean, that's like a really great. What belief is creating this thought that then creates this emotion in me, and then emotions have so much power behind them. It pulls in our experiences. And you're exactly right. We have a reticular activating system in the brain, in the body, that is meant to keep us safe, to only look for certain things that we kind of basically program ourselves to look for. But then we're not looking for all those other amazing things. So if we're only looking for all the bad things in our job, we're going to keep seeing that instead of looking for, oh my God, look at all the benefits and blessings of my job.
Mhm. Wow. So how is it that you start these conversations with people that are carrying all these limiting beliefs? When they come to you, they probably don't have any idea this is really what's going on. They probably think there's more of a surface level problem.
Yeah. So usually I'll start with asking what issue, pattern, or problem is showing up in your life. So maybe, a lot of, and your listeners can think about this, a lot of our things are actually patterns. So somebody who keeps choosing unavailable partners, that's actually a pattern. Or even losing money. We also have an energetic ceiling that we create about how much money we can make or have or hold that feels safe to our nervous systems. So there's all of those. I mean, there's so many things. There's patterns. Okay. So basically, I would ask, what issue, pattern, or problem do you want to work on? And it's many things. I started with anxiety. A lot of people came to me for anxiety, but now I mostly work with people who are looking for their purpose, right? Their life purpose. I work with a lot of women, so same kind of age group you guys, 35 and up, people who are moms, people working moms, entrepreneurs, all different visionaries, and we'll just work on that problem. And then what will happen is I will ask, so maybe your question, maybe, I don't know, is there anything can you think of a problem?
Gosh, I have lots of problems, Missy. Now I feel unprepared. Wait, who's the guest here?
Oh, okay.
Well, I'll offer one.
Oh, thank you,
offer
Sandra,
one.
for saving me.
So sometimes I'll be working with someone and they feel like they can't make a decision to support themselves because something in them won't allow them to set that boundary.
Okay, so boundaries. Yeah. So that's perfect. So a lot of us, especially women, um, aren't used to, or we didn't feel it was safe to have boundaries, and then that shows up actually as resentment. So that's another thing, is a lot of times I'll ask them, okay, so what emotions are you feeling? What happened? What emotions are you feeling? Where do you need help with? So if somebody tells me, oh, I'm feeling a lot of resentment, that's always a sign to me. I want to say, okay, boundaries, because when we feel resentment, it's either we didn't hold good boundaries, and maybe we just didn't know how. Maybe it wasn't patterned for us, or maybe somebody when we were younger actually trounced on our boundaries, right? So now we don't feel like we can safely hold a boundary. So then I would ask, then what happens in a session? I will tune in. So I'll bring the client through like a very short meditation, and I'll close my eyes and I will start I'll be able to see their body and their energy field, and I will start asking questions. So I will ask the question, why is it hard for you to have good boundaries? So we have to craft the question together, right? I'll say, oh, okay, is that a good question to ask? Yes. Okay, so let's ask. And we want to kind of keep it broad, right? Because I want to see what your body is going to tell me, and what your spirit guide will call in. Your spirit guides will ask your higher self. So I'll ask, and what will happen is your body will light up and it will start showing me exactly the beliefs, the emotions, where they are in the body that are creating this belief that, oh, you know, I can't have good boundaries. And we don't know what it might be. Maybe it's like, I mean, it could honestly be like, you know, I'm too much. Like, seriously, that belief, you could be a little kid, a little girl, and you have a lot of emotions, and maybe your mom or dad said, okay, calm down, like you're too much, right? And then you start believing, oh, okay, well, I guess I have to act a certain way, and I can't speak up, and I can't say no. I just have to just be like perfect or whatever. So those kinds of things. We dive deep, we come up with all the beliefs, and at the end, I release them. And then I always have journaling practices for them and things like that. I hope that kind of answered your question.
Yeah, completely answered my question. So you had talked a little bit before about a book that's helped you that you've recently read. Can you tell us what that book was and why you recommend it?
Yeah, so I recently read The Big Leap. I think that's what you were talking about, by Gay Hendricks.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
I just read it in the last like 2 months as well. Yes.
it's so good because what he talks about is like these invisible ceilings that we place on ourselves, so that we stay safe and we don't go to the next level in whatever it is that we want. It could be love, money, you know, career. And that's a lot of the work that I do. I look at, where are you holding yourself small? Where are you playing small? So a lot of my own wounding has been around fear of being seen. You know, it's a lot of hiding that I've done in my life. So now I tend to attract a lot of women who are working on being more visible, right, in their jobs, or whatever. And so I look at, okay, what is that ceiling? Like, what is it that's making you stay hidden? Like, what is it? And I just felt like The Big Leap was, oh, it was so great, right? I think they list 4 reasons why we have that. And I can't remember them all right now, but
Yeah, I really thought that he had an interesting idea about time, and that how we hold on to this concept, this idea of time and not having enough and never finding enough and running out of it. Um and I thought it was very interesting to think that I hold the key to my time. And so that's something that I've been revisiting, because I often feel like, "Oh, I don't have enough time to get this done. I'm running out of time." And so the thought that I could impact that for myself was very, very eye-opening. So I don't think I'm there yet, but it's definitely something that I'm actively working on, because it felt so freeing to think that way.
yes. Okay. And so same thing. I was like super impressed by that concept too. And so
Mhm.
I'm like you too. It's like time anxious. Like I literally wake up like, oh my God, I don't have enough time. Right. And I examined that. So very recently I was like, why is that? And then
Mhm.
I realized through the work, when I was young, I loved to read. So I used to lay on my bed and read my book. Like on Saturday, gotta read my book. But then my mom had a rule, which is, you know, we had a lot of kids and a 2-story house, right? She
Right.
would yell at Missy, and we had to say coming, and like go there. We had to drop everything, go there, and that's fair. You know, she had a lot of kids, but I was constantly interrupted. Like I constantly I honestly, my young self learned I don't have enough time for me. There's not enough time,
Mhm.
because I was constantly interrupted to do chores and things like that. And so that still, even though I run my own business and I set my own hours, I still have that belief there's not enough time for me. So it's sort of like examining, what are your beliefs about time,
Yeah.
and is it actually true? Is it
Mhm.
true anymore? Because it's not true anymore for me.
I think too, there's a whole cultural aspect of it as well. It's the whole Puritan work ethic. What are you working on? How are you using your time? Are you progressing, right? Leisure time is not something that's valued in the way that it should be. We need time to rest. We do need time with unstructured ability to just allow imagination. And sometimes I'll text Annette and she'll ask me, how you doing today? And I said, oh, I did nothing this weekend. I doodled. And the reality is there's value in that, but we're taught not to appreciate it. We're taught that for time to be used productively, it must produce. And then what we're really communicating, I feel, that is, you have value when you produce.
Mhm.
You don't have just value inherently. And I think that can be a very dangerous message that we just internalize.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think
Very interesting. Go ahead.
yeah, and I think it's bigger for women than it is for men.
Yeah.
Right? Because
I would
for
tend to
women,
agree.
I think we have such a caretaker responsibility, right? Not just for our own immediate families, but even, when the pandemic was going on and we were starting to come out of it, I was talking to a lot of people about burnout and what a big issue it is for women in particular. And Gartner did a big study, and it showed that the burnout rate between women and men actually increased for women during the pandemic, but decreased for men.
Mhm.
And my point was, okay, let's go back and think through that, right? Massive unemployment, a lot of uncertainty with respect to your health and what was going on in the world, lots of political turmoil, and men's stress levels decreased, but women's increased. So why? Well, because kids were home, right? Parents got sick, right? In-laws got sick, right? And so even though times have changed and I think men are doing more around the house and offering more support than, say, their fathers did, the reality is that the emotional load associated with family is still primarily a woman's role.
Yes.
Mhm. And it's expectations too, because I think women generally are maybe a little bit better at reading a room or reading other people's expectations of them, because we had to kind of tiptoe around and like what is expected of us as girls and then women, and how are we expected to fit in, especially if we maybe were in a more male dominated field. Like I was always tiptoeing around. I knew I was the only woman. I was definitely the only Asian. And I really had to like constantly, I realized this later, like constantly be scanning. Okay, do I fit in? Okay, I don't want to be too girly. Like I want them to think I can do what they can do. I don't want to talk about my pregnancy. I need to fit in, right? So we're constantly scanning to fit in, and those are the expectations that then come with us. Like during the pandemic, right? We're expected to take care of the kids and do the work. So expectations, I think, is a big part of our burnout.
Yeah.
Huge.
Agreed.
Such a
And
powerful conversation,
oh, for sure.
Missy.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely. So how do we have our listeners, our audience stay in touch with you? What is the best way to reach you? And I think you have a special little gift that you want to give.
Yeah, so you can get me on my website is really easy, missyenergyhealing.com. And then also Instagram, I'm on there a lot. And that's Missy Energy Healing. So super easy too. And then, yeah, I work with people in a belief code session, and you could tell me your issue, pattern, or problem, and then I'll find the whole belief system that's creating this problem, and I'll clear it out, and then I'll send you all the notes so you'll know exactly. Oh yeah, this, and this, and I'll put a special. Well, I'll give you guys a special code for your listeners so they can get 20% off of a belief code session. So I'll have to create that coupon and we'll give it to you. Maybe you guys can put it in the show notes.
That's fabulous.
So generous. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Missy, what do you wish you had known earlier in your life?
I wish, this sort of makes me emotional. I wish I knew it was okay to be myself, and I wish that for every person.
Mm-hmm.
That is so powerful. So powerful.
Thank you.
And it's so true. I wish we were taught how to process our emotions. I wish we were taught that we're okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that we belong.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Oh, any parting words?
Now you made me cry.
We made her cry.
You made me cry. I made myself cry. Any parting words? No, I hope that everybody takes a moment to just think about what makes them special. Like what's easy and natural to you that's not easy and natural to everyone else. And then what brings you joy? What do you love talking about, reading about? And then often that is that intersection that creates our purpose. So you're here for a reason. You're gifted these things for a reason. And now we get to be brave enough to use them.
Beautiful. Thank you again for joining us, Missy. We're so grateful you shared your zone of genius with us.
Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
Gorgeous. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on this episode of Exposing the Hidden Reality. If something hit home or made you snort laugh, tell us.
Seriously, we love hearing from you. Message us, tag us, or send us coffee. We love coffee.
And hey, leave a review. It helps more women find us and boosts our egos.
Which are like fragile, like suspiciously fragile.
True. All right, until next time, keep questioning, keep growing, and if all else fails,
Blame the dog.
See you next time. Wait, did we stop recording?
No, we're still here. You have to push the red button.
Red button. Cool. Just eternal podcasting.
Bye.
Bye.